Thank you. It's wonderful to be here with so many friends to talk about the music that makes this season of the year so happy. Also with so many family members, as it turns out. So let's have some fun. Something I find interesting to ponder is the fact that Christmas and its music are embraced and celebrated by almost all cultures around the world. For Christians, Christmas celebrates the birth of Jesus. But the reason that Jesus' birth is so important is Easter. And Easter doesn't get near the recognition. Why not? Well, if you listen to the music, the answer reveals itself. A baby is born, and who doesn't rejoice at the birth of a baby? We grandparents sure do. Away in a manger, no crib for a bed. And there's a magic, a star that travels westward and shines on a stable. There's intrigue, three magi, wise men, follow that star and bring precious gifts to the baby. We three kings of Orient are, bearing gifts we traverse afar. And there's optimism. In O little town of Bethlehem, we hear the hopes and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. But all the music that relates to the birth of Jesus does not explain the more universal appeal of Christmas. No, other factors beyond the nativity come into play. So let's look at the fact that everyone, especially children, loves a birthday party. And who better to host such a party than Saint Nicholas, patron saint of children, whose feast day is December the 6th, 9 days before Jesus' birthday. Saint Nicholas' feast day has been celebrated by Christians worldwide since he was made a saint in the mid-570s. His name has been made to fit the languages of the places he is known, everything from St. Nikolaos in Greece to Sinterklaas in Holland, and of course, Santa Claus in Mexico. His name has been shortened to Saint Nick, and within the past few generations, to Santa. Without muddying the waters too much more, he even has names that relate him more to Christmas than to himself. In England, he is known as Father Christmas. In France, Père Noël. And in Italy, he's a woman, La Befana. But I digress. In my humble opinion, Christmas music can be divided into two categories: carols, which are religious, and songs, which are secular. But wherever you go right now, you will be inundated by both. Some carols are very old, such as God rest ye merry gentlemen, let nothing you dismay, whose very old and traditional words were first written down in 1760. Another carol from medieval times is the holly and the ivy, when they were both full grown, of all the trees that are in the wood, the holly bears the crown. The words and tune have changed over the centuries, as folk songs are wont to do, but the version we now sing was scribed in 1909. Others that sound old are younger than you might think. Good King Wenceslas was composed and published in 1853 and was based on a Finnish Easter hymn published in 1582. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. Wenceslas was actually a Bohemian duke, not a king, but he must have been a great guy because, well, they made him a saint. But the feast of St. Stephen, or St. Stephen's Day, is the day after Christmas. We know it better as Boxing Day. However, these days, instead of celebrating it by handing out gifts to postal workers and breadmen, we clog malls and get deals on the season's commercial leftovers, while Christmas carols and songs continue to enchant us. Silent Night's German lyrics were written in Austria in 1818 by a young priest named Joseph Mohr, and the melody was composed by Franz Gruber. Moore played it on guitar at the Christmas service, and the world fell in love with it. When I was in grade 8, I was in a vocal quartet for our Christmas concert, and I was singing bass. I still sing that bass line along to Silent Night even today. I also sing the bass part of O Come All Ye Faithful. However, we did it in Latin. Adeste fidelis latium triumphantes. See, I still remember it. Not bad for an old fella. Now, my favorite Christmas carol is O Holy Night. O Holy Night, the stars are brightly shining, which was written in 1843 in Roquemart, France, in French, of course. The English lyrics we know and love were written in 1855. Really, not many have recorded it, probably because the range of the music is a challenge. The best I've heard is Josh Groban's version. Groban is able to pick off high and low notes so smoothly you barely notice them. But on the secular side of things, my favorite Christmas song is called The Christmas Song, known better as Chestnuts Roasting on an Open Fire. It was written on a particularly hot and sweltering day in 1945 by Mel Torme, the Velvet Fog, and lyricist Bob Wells in an attempt to keep cool. While it was a huge hit for Nat King Cole, it has been recorded by every pop singer ever to hit a studio. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose. Still, my favorite version is Torme's own, recorded live in concert. His Christmas song was such a hit that Torme used to call it his annuity. But the most popular Christmas song of all time is White Christmas. The Guinness Book of Records says so. It was written by Irving Berlin and launched in the 1942 movie Holiday Inn by Bing Crosby. By the time Crosby had it as another hit from the movie White Christmas, it had already become a Christmas song for Frank Sinatra and others. Just about anybody who's anybody has recorded White Christmas. While some did it fairly straight to the original music, such as Bette Midler and Lady Gaga did, others gave it their own special treatment. Elvis made it typically Elvis. Well, thank you very much. The Supremes and Darlene Love gave it a Motown touch. However, the Drifters made it a almost swing in a doo-wop way. I dream of a white Christmas. Pardon the frog. And I think they influenced how Meghan Trainor did it just a couple of years ago. I must point out that White Christmas is not the only wintry song from the movie White Christmas. Snow isn't a Christmas song, but it gets the chilly point across with the marvelous harmonies of Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, Rosemary Clooney, and Vera Ellen. Well, not quite. Vera Ellen was first and foremost a dancer. Her singing was actually dubbed in by Trudy Stevens. Who, you ask? Well, I don't know any better than you do, but she sure had a beautiful voice. So, what about other movies that launched great Christmas songs? The film Meet Me in St. Louis had nothing at all to do with Christmas, but Judy Garland's Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas is now a standard. Silver bells, it's Christmas time in the city, came from the movie from Bob Hope and Marilyn Maxwell, The Lemon Drop Kid. Darlene Love's All Alone for Christmas was from Home Alone 2, is a newer Christmas song, and I think already a standard. But then there are the ones that came from cartoon movies and TV shows. But I needed to clarify that some of those songs were already hits even before they made it to our small screens. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was a huge hit for Gene Autry in 1949, well before Burl Ives serenaded us with it. Also in Rudolph, Ives treated us to silver and gold, and have a holly jolly Christmas. Gene Autry, whose horse Champion I got to pet back in 1950, Also performed Frosty the Snowman before Jimmy Durante stuck his nose in where it definitely belonged. Frosty the Snowman was a jolly happy soul with a corncob pipe and a button nose and two eyes made out of coal. Fred Astaire did not introduce Santa Claus is Coming to Town in the cartoon movie of the same name. Eddie Cantor had done it first back in 1934. In the movie Elf, Zooey Deschanel revived it as she raised the Christmas spirit of New York City. In that same movie, she sang Baby It's Cold Outside with Will Ferrell. There'll be more on that later. There were also some major Christmas songs that originated in cartoons. My personal favorite has to be Christmas Time Is Here Again from the Charlie Brown Christmas. But it's followed closely by Josh Groban's rendition of Believe from Polar Express. That said, a fun song is You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. Yeah, you're as cuddly as a cactus. You're as charming as an eel, Mr. Grinch. That actually comes from the movie The Grinch That Stole Christmas. In the cartoon, it was sung by a fellow named Thurl Ravenscroft, whose previous big gig was as the voice of Tony the Tiger in Kellogg's Frosted Flakes commercials. Something that we all say is Christmas comes but once a year. And most of us think, thank goodness. Why do we use that expression? Well, as it turns out, it came from a cartoon that was in theaters in 1936. It was called Christmas Comes But Once a Year, Once a Year, Once a Year. Christmas comes but once a year. Na, 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 na. Yes, ad nauseum. It's on YouTube if you're interested. As with the ancient Christmas carols, a little bit of here. There were Christmas songs that dated back to medieval times. Mummering was a tradition in old Ireland and parts of Britain, possibly dating to the time of the Druids. There were beggars and even children who would don masks and go door to door, pretty much demanding food and drink as reward for serenading the home's occupants. Songs like Here We Come A-Wassailing and We Wish You a Merry Christmas. A verse from Here We Come A-Wassailing goes, call up the butler of this house, put on his golden ring, let him bring us up a glass of beer, and better we shall sing. We Wish You a Merry Christmas gets even more threatening. So bring us some figgy pudding, followed by we won't go until we get some. I don't know what the consequences would be if the homeowner refused the order. Apparently, mummering did traverse the Atlantic Ocean and because it became a tradition, well, now illegal in parts of Newfoundland. So it's obvious that those old mummering songs really don't have anything to do with Christmas. Neither do a whole group of songs that would be better sung from January to March, when the real winter and cold embrace us. Check out Winter Wonderland. Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in the winter wonderland. Earlier, I mentioned Will Ferrell and Zooey Deschanel singing Baby It's Cold Outside in the movie Elf. Well, it's been done many times by many others, so you're bound to hear it over and over until the end of December. And then when the lyrics are most appropriate, you won't. That said, it was an Academy Award winner from the 1949 movie Neptune's Daughter. In that version, Ricardo Montalban tries to warm up Esther Williams, and Betty Garrett makes advances on Red Skelton. Another perfect song for cold and dark February is Sleigh Ride. Just hear those sleigh bells ringing, a jing-ting-ting-a-ling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Mop up time. Brings tears to your eyes, doesn't it? Another perfect song. Oh, no. So, folks, I'm proposing that we gang up on the music industry and force them to play more Christmas music during the Christmas season and winter music when it's actually winter. Who's with me? Well, okay. I guess we'd be fighting a losing battle anyway. Great power does have its limits. One of the things that gives Christmas music its universal appeal is the fact that every year, big stars of each generation release new Christmas albums. Is it any wonder that the young people from Australia to Finland and Korea to Israel perpetuate Christmas when their recording idols keep pumping out albums and videos to celebrate the season? If you're like me, you're lost when it comes to knowing current or even recent big name entertainers. But I would suggest and bet to you that you all know the name Justin Bieber, the biggest star to come out of Stratford, Ontario. But do you know his songs? Can you fathom that he has a Christmas song called Mistletoe that went multi-platinum a couple of years ago? I listened to it, and you know what? It's a really good song. But I've already forgotten how it goes, so I guess I better get my grandkids to sing it to me. Add to that all the memorable songs of our old wild and woolly youth, and I'm referring to us seniors here. And the world is hooked. That's how Christmas music traverses all social and ethnic boundaries. There are quite a few sad Christmas songs. Fortunately, not that many compared to the happy ones. It seems to be that Elvis kicked off the sad songs with, "I'll have a blue Christmas without you." Thank you very much. Last Christmas by a rock group called Wham is another tearjerker. The Celtic group, the Pogues, Fairy Tale in New York's, they're a Celtic style group. They had Fairy Tale of New York, which has sad words, but I can't be blue for long when I listen to Irish music. I just pull out to be Irish tin whistle, yes, and play along. But there are so many uplifting and happy songs in a wide range of styles, I'd rather think of them over the sad ones. There are novelty songs such as the Chipmunk song. Now, I can't do an impression of Alvin right now because, well, I don't have a helium balloon to inhale from. But do you remember from 1952, little Jimmy Boyd singing, "I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus underneath the mistletoe last night"? And a really silly one from 1979 was husband and wife duo Elmo and Patsy. "Grandma got run over by a reindeer." Strange that Elmo's day gig was as a veterinarian. There are 50s style rock and roll songs like Bobby Helms' "Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell, Jingle Bell Rock." I remember jiving at sock hops to that one. The sexiest one I can think of is Eartha Kitt's rendition of "Santa Baby." Many other vampy singers have given Santa Baby their sultry best shot, but I think that Eartha Kitt's is the earthiest. I still remember her as the original Catwoman on the Batman TV show. Eartha Kitt also made her distaste for disco music known, but that didn't stop Boney M from releasing Mary's Boy Child. "A long time ago in Bethlehem, so the Holy Bible says." And Jose Feliciano offered up a wonderful Latin American treat, "Feliz Navidad, Feliz Navidad." I would like to suggest that Mary's Boy Child and Feliz Navidad do not belong in the Christmas song list, but should be classed as carols because they are adding to the story of the birth of Jesus. One that combines Christmas carol and non-Christmas song is one I find appealing because it joins the voices of Bing Crosby and David Bowie, two singers whose musical eras and styles were a half century apart. But on top of that, while Little Drummer Boy is a carol, "Peace on Earth" is considered to be a song for peace, and has no relationship to Christmas. But man, did they work? Oh, the best part of having these two vocal legends recorded together is that we get to hear them again and again every year. You might guess by looking at me that annually at this time, I help my Uncle Nick hear children's Christmas wishes at Christmas parties. Well, COVID has curtailed that considerably, but I bet you'd like my Uncle Nick. He's a real saint. As Christmas music simmers in the background, kids from all nationalities and cultures come and ask for everything: electronics, pets, board games, and stuffed toys. Why, I even know of a family of atheists whose kids plea for Santa's favor. The point is that the spirit of Christmas, happily giving and receiving, is alive and well in children for that one bit of the year. Hopefully, some of that diffuses into the psyches of their parents. I'm positive it influences the grandparents. With 14 grandkids, I can vouch for that. While overhead we hear, "He sees you when you're sleeping. He knows if you're awake." Keep that in mind. I imagine that most of you have Christmas music collections that you drag out every year. We sure do. I have recordings and sheet music that date back at least 60 years. I have the complete score of Handel's Messiah, which is just as relevant at Easter as it is in Christmas. Well, probably more so. I also have books that are compilations of Christmas songs. And remember those little Christmas carol books that used to come tucked inside your newspaper? I have several years worth of those kicking around. These days, most of my recorded music is on CDs. Most of my vinyl albums I own are damaged by water years ago, but I do have a copy of Elvis Presley's first Christmas album still in its plastic wrapper. It's probably worth something to someone, but I think I'll will it to one of my grandchildren. I really like the jazzier Christmas CDs, such as Tony Bennett and the Count Basie Orchestra's A Swingin' Christmas, and compilations Have Yourself a Jazzy Little Christmas and Holiday Favorites by jazz greats. Being a big fan of Louis Satchmo Armstrong, who I got to meet back in the mid-60s at the O'Keefe Center, I love It's Christmas Time in New Orleans and Is That You, Santa Claus? But the first CD that comes out every Christmas at our house and has for about 40 years is The Chieftains, the Bells of Dublin. The Chieftains were always known for inviting guest artists to join them. And this disc has some of the best ever, playing traditional Aeolian pipes, bodhrán, and tin whistle, and singing in Gaelic, English, and French. There's a Canadian connection. Kate and Anna McGarrigle performed Il est né et Sauberger on the album. Speaking of Canadian and French, one of my favorite CDs was put out by McGill University with arrangements and direction by Donald Patriquin. It's simply titled Noel, and it is beautiful. Now, could there possibly be a Brantford connection to recorded music at Christmas time? Well, yes, there could be. An act that performed at both the Brantford International Jazz Festival and downtown Brantford Jazz, Brantford Downtown Jazz is what it's properly called, put out a swinging CD called This Is Christmas. I hope some of you remember seeing the Willows, whose beautiful tight harmonies are reminiscent of the Andrews Sisters. Back in 2007, Brantford's own Grand River Chorus released A Grand Christmas. As soon as COVID has been conquered, I think they should reassemble and launch another one. Another local one I treasure was released in 1997 by the late Terry Sumption and is titled Season's Greetings. So this year, while you deck your halls and fight with the branches of your artificial tree and ponder the fact that people from around the world are doing it too, you may have noticed that I have not delved into Christmas music from non-English speaking cultures. That's really because I am not all that familiar with it. There are some truly beautiful carols and songs rooted in Germanic Romance, which includes Latin, and Slavic languages. I have some recordings of these, but I can't understand the word they're saying except for the French ones. So think about the traditions that are now musically intertwined with the hope and joy of Christmas. Consider that from the Middle Ages to modern times, there has been music in the form of religious carols and secular songs raising spirits and brightening this darkest days of the year. St. Nicholas, yes, Santa Claus, his eminence, the patron saint of children, has been like a magical presence in a giant snow globe that encases us all from the beginning of Advent to the 12th day of Christmas. But when the dial is cranked and the music starts, what emanates not only repeats what we have heard year after year, but adds to it and keeps it fresh and us inspired. So I'd like to conclude with, I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thanks for listening, folks.